name is Elias Pacheco, and today I'll be creating a short video presentation on the refrigeration system. I've created a diagram, and I will be going over the different components, different parts of this system to explain how the heck this even works. To go over real quick on why we even need this system, we use this system every day, especially in our homes. We have a refrigerator. After we buy food, we stick a bunch of food in the refrigerator to keep it cold, to keep it chilled, so that we can use it in the later day. And we also have ACs. We have ACs in our homes, we have ACs in our work buildings, we have ACs in our school, and we need these ACs. Especially during hot summer days, when we can't take the heat, we just want to go into a room that's nice and cold and just chill out. So let's get into the diagram. We're going to start here on the left side, the evaporator system. We have this side blue, and we're going to start with this low pressure vapor liquid right here. So there's a refrigerant liquid that's pumped into this system. It starts off as a liquid, and there's no pressure being added to this liquid. So what happens is this liquid will go through these evaporator coils. What's happening while it's inside these evaporator coils is that it's absorbing heat from the surrounding area. And so if it's the inside of your fridge or the room that we're trying to cool down, it's absorbing all the heat that's present. But there's also a thermostat in here. It's tracking the heat. It's making sure it doesn't overheat. And we know that when the liquid is absorbing heat, it's gonna change its state from liquid to vapor. However, while moving through these evaporator coils, there's no change in the pressure, only the temperature, sort of. And we have what's called a low pressure vapor. This low pressure vapor is going to move into this compressor. This compressor's job is to essentially compress this vapor. It's going to raise its temperature even more, and it's going to raise its pressure. This compressor is essentially the heart of this entire diagram. It's what keeps the refrigerant moving, and it's what causes the difference in pressures. This difference in pressures is what makes this entire diagram work. However, there's also an actuator inside the compressor. And what that actuator does is that it tracks data, which is sent back into the control. So if there's a low demand for cold air, let's say the room is already at the temperature you want, so we don't need to be pumping as much cold air as you want, that actuator will slow down the process of the vapor moving into this side of the diagram. Once the vapor moves out of the compressor, we have now a high pressure, high temperature vapor. And what this vapor is going to do is it's going to move into these condenser coils. While it's inside the condenser coils, what's going to happen is all the heat that had already absorbed in the evaporator coils, it's going to start to release it. All this heat is being released from this vapor. And so we know that now, as it's releasing the heat, it's going to change its state from vapor down to liquid. But just like on this side of the diagram, no pressure is being changed. So it's just going from vapor to liquid, but it's still going to be with a lot of pressure. There's also a thermostat in these coils, and what that thermostat is doing is that if it's like the outside heat is way too high, it'll send signals back to control to speed up the fans to get this heat released as fast as it can. And so this high pressure liquid is going to move into this expansion valve. Now this expansion valve has also an actuator, just like the compressor, and what that actuator is doing is controlling the flow of the refrigerant back into the evaporator system. So when this high pressure liquid enters the expansion valve, what's going on is that there's a drastic change in pressure. So we know the compressor, it raised up the pressure. The expansion valve is going to drop the pressure. So the high pressure liquid is going to move through the expansion valve and come back to where we started. Low pressure liquid vapor form. And so to quickly sum up this diagram, We have low pressure liquid vapor, goes into the evaporator coils, absorbs all the heat. Low pressure vapor goes to compressor, raises heat, raises pressure. High pressure vapor moves into condenser coils, releases all the heat, turns into high pressure liquid, enters the expansion valve, drops the pressure, goes back to low pressure. And this same cycle goes on continuously, and this is how we have cold air. This is what allows our food to be cold. This is what allows us to keep cool during the summertime. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and that's all I have for now.